You are welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Salamiti Tilapadini, and the topic before us today is integration, and we'll be very fast. I will just tell you what you need to know under integration. The first thing you have to know is what when we are talking of integral, it is having what a sigma sign, the equation, and the x. That means the sigma sign and the x are always together. And when we are talking of differentiation, we must know that we have a general formula for integration. And the general formula for integration is what is ax into what n plus 1 over n plus 1 plus c. And we all know that what is our a? Our a stands for what? Constant. And what is our n? Our n stands for power. And that is all about integration. For instance, let us look at this. They say integrate this 3x a power of 4 dx. And what will you add 1 to the power and then you divide by that power. It's simple. Now let's look at this. Integrate x7 dx. What is the answer? X8 over 8 plus c. So it's simple. Now let us go back to Jamb past question. They said we should integrate x squared plus 3x minus 5 dx. It's simple. So if we are having this, what will you do? You integrate this. This will give us what? X3 over 3 plus add 1 to the power. The power here is 1. Don't forget. So add 1 to it. We have it as what? 3x squared over 2. But we need to know that anytime you are integrating a constant, the integral of a constant is what? Is constant x. Do we get that? Don't forget, anytime you are differentiating a constant, the differential of a constant is what? Is 0. But here, anytime you are integrating a constant, you add a variable to it, and then we have it as c. It's simple. Do we get that? Now let's look at this question again. A question that pertains to product rule, but we don't have a product rule under integration. They said we should integrate this. So what will you do? You expand and then you integrate. So if you expand, what do we have? We have it as what? X squared minus x plus 2x minus 2 dx. And then we have it as what? X squared plus x minus 2 dx. And if you integrate, add 1 to the power, add 1 to the power, and the integral of the constant is what? Is constant x. Do we get that? It's simple. Now let's first look at a question that pertains to what? A quotient rule. We have the integral of what? Of x3 over x squared over x dx. So how can you integrate this? Don't forget that in mathematics, if you have 4 minus 2 over 2, what is that? It's going to give us 4 over 2 minus 2 over 2. Do we get it? And this will not give us what? X cubed over x plus what? Plus x squared over x dx. That means you will just divide everything by what? By x. And this will give us what? X squared plus x dx. We cannot integrate this, but we have simplified. We cannot integrate this. And if you want to integrate this, it will give us what? 3 over 3 plus what? X squared over 2 plus chicken. Now, let's look at more questions on that in the past question. There is a question here. They said integrate 1 plus x over what? Over x cubed dx. So if you want to integrate this, that means you separate 1 over x cubed plus x over what? Over x cubed dx. And this will give us 1 over x cubed. What is 1 over x cubed? That will give us what? X minus 3 indices. And also, what is x over x cubed? That will give us 1 over x squared. And what is 1 over x squared? X minus 2 dx. We cannot integrate this, but we can integrate this. So if you want to integrate this, just add 1 to the power. Minus 3 plus 1 will give us what? Minus 2 over minus 2 plus minus 2 plus 1 will give us what? Minus 1 over minus 1 plus c. And you cannot see this answer in the option because this is indices. You need to reduce it. And if we are having a power of minus, what is the meaning? That means that minus will drag it down. And if that minus is dragging it down, that will give us minus 1 over what? Over 2x squared minus 1 over x plus. Do we get it? It's simple. Now, there is also a question in Jamb pertaining to that. They said we should integrate x squared minus the square root of x over x dx. So how can you integrate this? That means we have to simplify. What is the square root of x? That will give us x a power of half over x dx. And that means we have to what? We have to separate. So if you separate them, we have it as what? As this. And now, indices. What is x squared over x? That will give us what? X. And indices, what is x a power of half over x? Don't forget the power here is 1. So what is half minus 1? That will give us what? Minus half dx. Do we get that? And then you integrate. So for us to integrate, just add 1 to the power and you divide by that power. Add 1 to minus half. What is minus half plus 1? That will give us half over half. And in mathematics, anytime we are having double division, the last one will come up. And that will give us what? X squared over 2 minus 2 the square root of x. Do we get that? Simple. And now, not to waste time, that is the elementary aspect of it. Because Jamb will not ask you more of elementary. They will ask you trigonometric function and what we term as what? The application of what? Of integration. And now, going to trigonometric function, what do we need to know? We need to know that when we are talking of trigonometric function, we have what we term as sine, we have what we term as cos, and we have what we term as, under this, we don't have time. We have what we term as what? Sec squared x. Don't forget, we have the trigonometric function for differential, but this is the trig function for what? Integral. You must know that anytime you are integrating sine x, the integral of sine x will give us what? Minus cos x plus c. Anytime you are integrating cos, the integral of cos will give us what? Sin x plus c. And anytime you are integrating sec squared x, the integral of sec squared x will give us what? Tan x. Do we get that? Don't mix it up. Don't forget, anytime you are differentiating sine, it will give us cos. Anytime you are differentiating cos, it will give us what? It will give us minus sin x. And anytime you are differentiating tan, it will give us what? Sec squared x. But what we have under integral is different from differential. Please don't mix it up. Now, let us now look at a question in Jamb. They said we should integrate sin x plus 2 dx. It's simple. How can you integrate sine? The integral of sine will give us what? Minus cos x. Plus, how can you integrate 2? It will give us what? 2x plus chicken. For this again, they said we should integrate sec squared theta d theta. What is the integral of sec squared theta d theta? That will give us what? Tan theta. See. Oh, don't forget, all these are constants. We have a question here. They said if dy over dx is equals to x plus cos x, they said we should find the value of y. Don't forget, they are not asking us to integrate directly here, but indirectly they are asking us to integrate. Just because if we are moving from y to dy, what are we going to do? We differentiate. But if you are moving from dy to y, what will you do? You integrate. Do you get it? So Jamb can ask you, they can give you your dy over dx to find y. So if they are asking you to move from dy dx to y, they are asking you to integrate. But if they are asking you to move from y to dy dx, they are asking us to what? To differentiate. So we are moving to y. That means our y will give us integrate. If you integrate x, we have it as what? X squared over 2. Don't forget, just add 1 to the power, divide by the power. And what is the integral of cos? The integral of cos will give us what? Sin x. So let's move on. Let's move on. And that will take us to what we term as a function of a function. And now they said we should integrate 2x dx. Now these are just bonus mark. Because if you look at the YouTube video on differentiation, I taught you a shortcut for function of a function. I said anytime you want to differentiate, if you want to differentiate sin 2x, I told you to differentiate the function in front, that will give us 2. Then you come back to sine to differentiate. If you differentiate sine, that will give us cos. What is the angle? Angle 2x. But that is a shortcut for what? For differentiation. But this is integration. Integration is different. So for integration, this is what you will do. If you integrate sine, what is the integral of sine? Minus cos 2x. Then you will now differentiate the function in front of it. If you differentiate this function, what do we have? We have it as 2. And then you divide by that function. Do we get it? Simple. Now let's look at more questions on that so that you can understand it better. They said we should integrate cos 4x plus 2 dx. So if you want to integrate this, what do you do? Integrate cos, what is the answer? Sine. Which angle? Angle 4x plus 2 over differentiate the function 4. Chicken. It's simple. And now that will now take us towards the application of integration. Please, Jamb will ask you questions on applications of integration, and you need to pay attention to it. And what is the meaning of application of integration? We have two. We have what we term as the limit, and we have what we term as what the area and what and volume. That three aspects Jamb will ask you, but they will major their question on what? On limit. Now let us look at limit. When we are talking of limit, what is the meaning? We have the integral of, let's say, a, b, and a function of x dx. So what is the meaning? That means we are going to integrate the function normally. Let's assume you integrate the function and you are having an answer. Let's say we are having an answer, but don't forget we have the upper and the lower limit. This is what we term as the upper limit, and this is what we term as what? The lower limit. And for you to solve a limit, we have a formula which says the upper minus the lower. Do we get that? And that is all about limits. But now, let us look at some few questions so that we can understand better. We have a question here. They said the integral of 20 x3 plus x squared dx. So how can we solve this? Integrate this normally. What do we have? x4 over 4 plus x3 over 3. And what is the upper limit? 2 and 0. And we have said it. How can you solve for upper and lower? Put the upper minus when you are putting your x as what? As the lower. So put your x as the upper. That will give us 2 raised to power 4 will give us 16 over 4 plus 2 raised to power 3 will give us 8 over 3. That is the upper limit minus the lower limit. So put your x as 0, it will give us 0. Do we get that? And if you solve this, it will give us 4 plus 2 whole number 2 over 3. And that will give us 6 whole number 2 over 3. Do we get that? You don't need to be looking for one missing SCM. You don't need it. So that is that about that. Now let's solve more questions on that. We are told to integrate 3 minus 2x and then dx. How can you solve this? Integrate normally. We have it as well 3x minus 2x squared over 2. Have you now? So that means the upper limit is 1 and 0. And this will give us what? 3x minus x squared 1 and 0. And remove the upper and the lower limits. Upper minus the lower. So put your x as 1. We have it as 3 minus 1 minus put your x as 0. 0. And this automatically will give us what? It's simple. Do we get that? Show you. And that is that about it. Now let's look at this again. Integrate 0 minus 4, 1 and minus 2x dx. It's simple. Integrate this, that will give us what? X minus 2x squared over 2. The upper limit is 0, the lower limit is what? Is minus 4. And that will give us what? X minus what? X squared into what? 0 minus 4. Do we get it? And then upper minus lower. So put your x as the upper, that will give us 0. Minus the lower, put your x as the lower. That means your lower limit is minus 4. Your x here is minus 4 minus, what is minus 4 squared? Minus 4 squared will give us 16. And that will give us what? 0 minus minus 20. And that will give us 20. It's simple. We are not doing anything. The only thing we are doing is what? After integrating, you put your x as the upper minus when you are putting your x as what? As the lower. Let us look at this question. They said we should integrate 6x squared minus 2x dx. So how can we solve? Integrate this function. That will give us 6x cubed over 3 minus 2x squared over 2. The upper is 2 and 1. Do we get that? So reduce. That will give us 2x cubed minus x squared. The upper is 2 and 1. Do we get that? So now remove the upper and the lower. Your upper minus the lower. So put your x as 2. 2 raised to power 3 is what? Is 8. 8 times 2 is what? Is 16. 2 raised to power 2 is what? Is 4. That is the upper limit. Minus the lower limit. 1 raised to power 3 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Minus 1 squared is 1. And that will give us what? 12 minus 1. And that will give us 11. It's simple. So just know that the principle of limit is what? Is the upper minus what? Minus the lower. Now let's solve more fast question on that. we are told to integrate 3, 1. We have x squared minus 1 dx. So how can you solve this? Just integrate. That will give us x3 over 3 minus x. Have you know? Then we add it as what? 3 and what? And 1. So the upper minus the lower. 3 cubed is 27. 27 over 3 will give us 9 minus x, which is 3. Minus the lower limit. That will give us 1 over 3 minus 1. Show you. And then we add it as well. 6 minus this will give us minus 2 over 3. And your answer will give us what? 6 whole number 2 over 3. It's simple. Jamb is very, very easy. So now we have it as well. The integral of 2, 1 x squared minus 4x dx. Let's solve more questions as possible. So this will give us what? S3 over 3 minus 4x squared over 2. The upper is 2 and 1. And that will give us what? S3 over 3 minus 2x squared 2 and 1. Do we get that? And then so the upper, put your x as 2. 2 raised by 3 is what? Is 8. 8 over 3 will give us what? 2 whole number 2 over 3. Do we get that? Minus, now what is 2 squared? 2 squared is what? Is 4. I mean, yes. 4 times 2 will give us what? 8. Yes, now. Or better still, you can change this man, since it is not going to give us fraction. You can change this man to what? 8 over 3 minus 8 into, now your lower limit, that will give us 1 minus 3 minus 2. Do we get that? And we can easily solve this. Just solve. 3 times 8 is what? Is 24. 8 minus 24 will give us minus 16 over 3. Do we get it? And then minus this time, this will give us what? 6. 1 minus 6 will give us what? Minus 5 over 3. Are we getting it? And that will give us what? Minus 16 over 3 plus 5 over 3. And what is minus 16 over 3 plus 5 over 3? Minus 16 plus 5 will give us what? Minus 11 over 3. And that will give us what? Minus 3 whole number. It's simple. So that is just the principle of what? Of limit. So the principle of limit is for you to integrate. And after integrating, you put your x as the upper minus the lower. And now, coming down to the limiting of what? Of a trigonometric function. How can we solve it? For example, we have a question here. Integrate pi over 80 cos 4x dx. Now, we have looked at how to integrate cos 4x dx. That means what? A function of a function. So the first thing for us to do is to integrate cos 4x. If you integrate cos, what is the answer? Sin 4x over 4. Did we get it? That's the answer for that. But what is the upper limit? Pi over 8. What is the lower limit? 0. And here, you will not put your x as what? As pi over 8. And that will give us what? Sin 4 times pi over 8 over 4 minus sin 4 times 0 over 4. Do we get that? The upper minus the lower. And this one will give us 4 here, will give us 2. And then we have it as what? As sin pi over 2 over 4 minus what? Sin 0 over 4. But now, mind you, your pi is not 3.142. Your pi is not 22 over 7. Your pi, when we are dealing with trigonometric function, is what? Is 180. And that means we have it as what? 180 over 2. And what is 180 over 2? That will give us 90. And you need to know the sign of 90. And what is the sign of 90? The sign of 90 is 1 over 4. And what is the sign of 0? The sign of 0 is what? 0 over 4. And this will give us what? 1 over 4. Do we get that? It's simple. Because under this integral of straight function, you need to know something we term as what? As a special table. Now let's look at this again. They said integrate pi over 2 minus pi over 2 cos x dx. How can you solve this? Integrate cos, that will give us what? Sin x. What is the upper limit? 90. What is the lower limit? Minus 90. So remove them, the upper minus the lower. That will give us what? Sin 90 minus the lower. Sin minus 90. Wow! What is sin minus 90? Mind you, they will not allow you to make use of calculator. But under trigonometry, there is something we term as what? As a reduction formula. And what is the meaning of reduction formula? It simply means the effect of a negative on a trig function. Do we get that? So this is what we term as what a reduction formula. So for a reduction formula, sign is a very nice one. That means sign will accept the negative. It will not give us what minus sine theta. Cos is a stingy man. So because cos is stingy, cos will not accept the negative. And tan also is a nice man. That will give us what minus tan theta. So that means what is sine minus theta minus sine theta? What is cos minus theta? Cos theta. What is tan minus theta? Minus tan theta. And for this, what are we going to have? We have it as what sine 90 minus sine. We accept the minus. And it will change to what? Sine 90. What is sine 90? 1. This will give us plus 1. And what is the answer? Do we get that? It's just for you to understand some basic ideas and approach on this. We have it as this sine 2x dx. So how can you solve this? As usual, integrate. Integrate sine. Sine will not give you cos, mind you. Sine will give us what? Minus cos 2x over 2. The upper limit is what? Is pi over 2. And then we have it as what? 0. And that will give us what? Minus cos 2 times pi over 2 over 2 minus the lower limit. Sorry, that will give us minus cos 2x over 2. Your x is what? It's 0. Do we understand this? Insert your x as the upper, pi over 2. Insert your x as the lower. We have that. And then if you solve this, this will cancel. And then this will give us what? Your pi is 180. That will give us minus cos 180 over 2 plus cos 0 over 2. And from this, what are we going to add? This cos 180 is minus 1 over 2 plus what is cos 0? Cos 0 is written as what? As sine 90. And that will give us 1 over 2. And this will give us what? 1 over 2 plus 1 over 2. And that will give us 1. It's simple. Now let's look at the last question on that. They said the integral of pi over 20 sine x dx. If you integrate sine, what is the answer? Minus cos x. And the upper limit is 90 and 0. And that will give us what? Minus cos 90 minus cos 0. Show you what? The upper limit is 90 minus cos 90 minus the lower limit minus cos 0. And from this, if you solve it, what is cos 90? Our cos 90 is what? Is sine 0. And that will give us what? 0. Do we get that? And this will give us plus. What is cos 0? Cos 0 is what? Is sine 90. And what is sine 90? We have it as 1. It's simple. And that will bring us to the end of limit. So most of their question will always be on limit. So we still have two things. We have what we term as the area and what? And the volume. When we are talking of the area, it is not pi r square again, no. Because this one is what? The area of a curve. It is having the formula as what? The integral y dx. And when we are talking of volume, the volume is having the formula as what? Integral pi y squared dx. And this is where we are going to stop for today. In our subsequent videos, because all these are what are advanced, but Jamb will not basically stress you with questions on this. So in our subsequent video, we'll be looking at more of what? Of area and what? And volume of a curve. I remain my humble self, Salam Adeni. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the love. And please, just for the love, don't forget to click on that subscription button.